All right, everyone, the primaries keep heating up, and of course, we're going to have a messy general election probably regardless of what ends up happening from this point forward in the primaries, because we have so many unknown quantities. It makes it a little bit harder for us to predict what's going to happen in the 24 election. We know there will be shenanigans, but we don't know exactly what form they might take. We've got several geriatric candidates who could croak. We have one candidate who's under multiple criminal indictments and could be effectively legally disqualified from running by several states or even by an act of the federal government. We've got all sorts of crazy shit going on right now. We also have the possibility that the current sitting incumbent steward gets impeached, not removed from office, but impeached. Or that there are more scandal revelations regarding Joe Biden and his dirty business dealings through his son, etc., etc. You could have a major war begin in the next year or something like that. I mean, other than the one that we're already involved in, the proxy war in Ukraine. Well, there are too many unknown quantities right now. The economy could soar. The economy could flatline, etc. So we can't make a definitive prediction about what's going to happen. In all, though, I believe that the best odds are that Donald Trump wins re-election Grover Cleveland style unless he is killed, dies, or is disqualified from running. In the case that he's disqualified, I have a feeling that Joe Biden coasts to re-election in a landslide. At that point, what's the alternative? A Republican who inevitably will have 20-30% of all the MAGA voters sit it out, which means that they could lose states like Ohio and Iowa quite easily. Trump would then be able to thumb his nose and say, told you so. Hey, you could have won. Sucks to be you. Sorry, America, I tried. I think that right now the goal is to simply distract Trump from the campaign trail. They're clearly trying to make things difficult for him because they fear him. People who are dreaming up the hilarious conspiracy theory that the Uniparty wants him to be nominee, so they keep legally persecuting him to make him look like a martyr. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It seems the opposite is true. They're trying to drag him through court proceedings. They're time-consuming. They're costly. They prevent him in many cases from effectively campaigning. If Donald Trump has a dozen court cases this week in 3 different states, how many rallies can he be expected to go to? All he's going to be able to do is cut videos and post on Truth Social. That'll be his campaign. I think the idea is actually to defend Creepy Joe. Creepy Joe is not campaigning for the most part. He is an old man with physical and cognitive issues, and it's really dangerous for him to go out into public on a regular basis because every time he goes out, there's a better than 50-50 chance he makes some major gaffe. There's a possibility he falls over on live TV. He's old, he's decrepit, he's infirm. And Donald Trump, meanwhile, is capable of holding several rallies on either side of the country in a day, and it doesn't seem to faze him. That's not the picture that the deep state wants the voters to see, because it's definitely advantaged Trump. Trump has run away with the primaries seemingly. He's about 34 points ahead in the aggregate over DeSantis, who has fallen down below 18 now. He's the only one that's ever polled above 50. and has done so consistently now for some time. And the Uniparty is, I think, afraid that he'll be nominated. I think they're trying to stop him from even being nominated. I don't think they'll be successful, but I think the attempt is being made. They're probably going to be too late to do that. What they're hoping to do as a backup is to then, effectively drag him through court, find him guilty, and then have a national conversation over what the punishment should be, during the general election when he's already the Republican candidate, hoping to cripple his candidacy. Again, there are a lot of unknowns, but there are still danger signs in the U.S. economy. Diplomatically, things aren't exactly looking up. Europe is starting to turn its back on the United States. For example, Europe is now planning to scrap visa-free travel into the EU for U.S. citizens. One of Trump's immediate platform planks has been, I will stop that from happening. Not so much as an utterance from Sleepy Joe. I think that the matchup couldn't be more sheer, though, since both of them are technical incumbents. Joe Biden never legitimately elected, but he's holding the office as steward, and Donald Trump legitimately elected, but then out of office for a term. They're both quasi-incumbents, so we have the tale of 2 presidents, basically. We can look at their records. We can look at accomplishments. In Biden's case, that's a very short list. We can look at what they said, what they did, how many campaign pledges they followed through with, the economy, etc., 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 etc. I'm finding it difficult to believe that the average independent voter would look at the two of them and not consider Trump to be the superior president. I'm finding it very difficult to believe. More entertaining, better economy until the bottom drops out with the lockdowns. Although I would say that the lockdown damage was already mostly ameliorated by the time Trump left office. That last quarter actually had technically the highest job growth of any quarter in U.S. history, according to Joe Biden's own personal standards about what job growth means. Of course, those were mainly returning jobs that were temporarily brownout mode. Reasonably good an attempt at fortifying the border, instead of fortifying the election, of course, that didn't fully pan out, but again, an attempt was made. It was partially successful. Campaign promise was half fulfilled, and Trump going into a second term, I think, would browbeat Congress 10 times harder. Just redivert the Ukraine aid to the U.S. wall for even just one fiscal quarter, and you can build the whole thing, by the way. It would be that inexpensive compared to what we're doing now. We look at the crime crisis, which technically things start inching up in the last year of Trump, but they've really come to a head in a lot of cities under Biden. It's starting to seep out into the suburbs. That's another big issue right now. If crime continues to seep into small towns and suburbia, which normally have been sheltered from the more severe crimes for the most part, those voters who can go either way, suburbia is swing state America. I think they would favor Trump too, because naturally they're going to blame the current incumbent. So unless Trump is killed, so they assassinate him, and it would be an assassination, it'd be a state hit, or he dies on his own, or is incapacitated. Yeah, massive stroke, he can't walk anymore. That kind of seals the deal. Of course, it'd be funny. It's possible that Biden then does too, and the whole political system is in uproar because now Cornel West is the front-running registered candidate or something like that. With 2 months to go in the election, there's no time to print up new ballots. Ah, shit. America's first nut-job socialist president, well, at least since FDR. And or they try to disqualify him. The state functions are attempting right now to disqualify him from being on the ballot. That would be a big mistake, especially considering the fact that he could feasibly win some of those states anyway in a friggin' write-in campaign, because it'll be so transparent to people that election interference is going on. Probably with a foreign state source in part. Biden's had long-standing ties to China, for example. That's just my reasoned opinion. I think that they're doing what they're doing out of fear. I don't sense them thinking, aha, we have an easy win. Now it's just time to punish Donald for being a bad boy for 4 years. I don't think it's as limited as that. I think that they're more worried about the future than they are retroactively punishing Trump for having been naughty and actually following through on his campaign promises. I sense desperation. That's about all. Peace out.